Vill du se den? We have now reached the final stop in Sweden before entering Norway and the 2 last broadcasts that we have from Norway. We are now in Åre, which is one of the most famous ski resorts in Sweden. As a pilgrim, you will never see the slopes covered in white snow and the skiers going downhill because the trail is not open in the wintertime. It's only open during summer. But if you pass through Åre in summertime, you will definitely see the ski slopes, but they are all green at this time. And what you can do is that you can take the ski lift and reach the top or almost the top to get a beautiful view of the area if it's not too cloudy. And you will also see a lot of bikers who will use the ski lift to get to the top and then continue going down. And this is why we have decided to talk about biking in this episode, since there are so many bikers. And I am now being visited by Simon, who is one of the bikers of Åre. Actually, you don't do only biking, you told me, but you do biking as well.
Yes, I do some biking, but not all the time.
I know that you biked the whole St. Olavsleden. When was this?
Last year, so in August last year, we did a 5-day tour from Selånger to Trondheim.
And we will talk about your bike. But first, this is the big mountain with all the bikers. Explain why this has become like a biker's paradise.
Åre has been like a biker's paradise for about 25 years now. Like in the end of the 90s, we had a World Cup for downhill, and after that, it's actually exploded. Like earlier, there was nothing here. Actually, there was just a winter resort, and then something happened like in the like end of the 90s, and then some trails, and then it started to do some man-made trails, and then now we have everything from downhill to road biking to cross country. So
going on this mountain, I know it's okay because it's like in the ski slopes, but going in the mountains generally, you need to be a little bit careful, right?
Yeah, it depends on where you are. Normally in Sweden you can bike on all the trails and so on, but we have some areas that are restricted, and the last few years they actually banned biking from more than like the normal trails. They have some I don't know what's called reservoirs. Yeah,
I think they are protecting a lot, mostly the reindeers from the Sami people.
Yeah, that's one thing, and then the corrosion and things in some places. So the electrical bike have done some as well. So they are mostly banned in the nature, but you can use them on most like gravel trails and so on.
And St. Olavsleden have 2 trails, one for hiking and one for biking.
And one for horse riding as well.
I know, one for horseback riding, but we haven't seen many horses. But last year I saw 2, but maybe a few. And the trails, sometimes they go together and sometimes they divide. And you bike on asphalt, on gravel road, and on small paths.
Yeah.
How is it to bike the St. Olav trail?
It's nice. It's some parts you say it's on asphalt. That's okay. But most of the time it's gravel roads and single tracks, and they are really nice. And you will see different parts that you normally don't see when you go with a car, for example. The trails on other sides of lakes, so you see different sceneries and so on, and you travel a little bit slower than with like the train or the like a car, but not as slow as when you're walking. So, but it's nice to do like biking the whole way, because you can see a lot of things in just a few days.
Yeah. And now when you arrived, you came with your bike. I think this is the one you used last year.
Yeah.
Let's look at it. What kind of bike is this?
Yeah, it's a cross country with suspension both in the front and in the back, so it's fully suspension on it. So, and it's nice when you go a little bit downhill. But a lot of parts of this trail is actually, you don't need a bike like this, but when you go, especially on a Norwegian side, when you go a lot of down, it's nice to have like disc brakes and so on, because if you have a normal city bike, you can use that as well, but probably you need to walk down some of the downhill parts.
And if you go downhill, I guess there must be some uphill as well, and then you need a lot of gears, otherwise you have to walk.
Yeah, but it's not that hard actually, because it goes slowly up all the way from Sealonger to the Norwegian border, and then it's going steep down. But then in the Norwegian side, it's actually more hilly, so you go up and down lots more. And the pass is not actually on the same place. Like you walk on one place and you bike on another one. So it's quite divided, the trails on the Norwegian side.
If you would choose your favorite from Sealonger to Trondheim, what would you say it would be?
There are some parts, like in the middle, that's nice. There are lots of single trails and you go through the forest. But the best part, I think, is when you pass the Norwegian border. So you go on from an asphalt part to an old King's Road, Karl Johans väg, and it's first is quite flat for a while, about a few k's, and then you go downhill for a few k's, and it's really, really nice, especially when you have a bike like this, and but I shouldn't do a normal bike down there, because there's quite steep, there's a lot of sheeps.
So what should you think of if you want to go on the trail with a bike? What's important?
It depends on what kind of trip you want to do. We choose to do a short, or like 5-day trip. So there is a lot of biking, and then you need to travel light. And then we choose the bike for that. But planning is one thing, like where should you stay and what kind of gear should you bring. So we had a really light, we didn't bring sheets and things like that and towels. So when we booked hotels, we stayed quite luxury. But we just had 4 stops since we did it in 5 days. But if you want to do like a longer turn, it's more days, so to say. You probably need some more equipment, you can buy everything on the way, but probably you will have more things. We just had a change of clothes and so on. So
last week we were talking about equipment for hiking, so I think it's a little bit the same. You need some clothes and you need some mosquito repeller. They are in my eye now, my ear, and also other things. But for biking, what you need to bring some certain things, I guess.
Yeah, a helmet is good always when you are on a bike. So use a helmet, and then gloves is always good, because when you do this in the summer, it's warm and you get sweaty, and you don't want to lose the grip on the handles. And for the mosquitoes, mostly eyewears.
Or bugs overall.
Yeah. So and some there are branches and things because sometimes it's single tracks. It's quite narrow, so you can hit a branch or something like that. So that's good equipment. And then rain clothes. But for biking, you can buy quite good things, quite light one. I didn't bring one today though, but it's no rain today, or
not yet.
Not yet. Oh yeah.
When you were on your 5-day tour, did anything happen with your bike?
Not for me, but I biked with a friend, and Peter, he actually hit a rock once, and then he hit the shifter for the gears, and he managed actually to finish that day. It was just like 12 k's to that stop, but then we actually arrived here in Åre, where I live, so we had all the gears in my garage. We were able to fix that, but like a place like Åre, there's a lot of bike shops, so you can fix things, but along the way, it's mostly in Östersund, and in Åre you can fix things. Otherwise you probably need a puncture or something you can actually fix along, because they're there. But if you have more advanced problems, there's not a lot of shops along the trail.
So be ready to bring your things that might happen.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. So
I also know you only spent 5 days on the road, but you hit some really bad weather. Tell us.
Yeah, the first 2 days was perfect, like 20 degrees, no wind at all, and sunny and some clouds. And then the third day, we started quite early in Östersund, and then we hit the storm Hans. And Hans was a big thing here in Åre. But the first day was good. We had rain and quite cold, but we managed to get here. Everything was wet though. Even in our plastic bags, inside our bags, there was sand and wet. But then the other day, our fourth day, during the night, there had been some really heavy rain. So along the road, or this gravel road over there, just behind, outside the church area here, it was like a plowed field in the road, and there was mud coming all the way down here, and we couldn't pass a stream going through the village, so we needed to pass along the shore of the lake. And it continued to rain. So but we didn't stop. We continued, and then after a few hours it actually stopped when we almost hit the Norwegian border. So, but it was like 1.5 days. It was completely raining and a lot of mud, and it was like a flooding here. They needed to abandon some of the houses. You couldn't even stay in them because there were risk for them to fall over, because the ground underneath actually eroded.
Why did you choose with your friend to do this biking tour?
I actually work with the St. Olaf Trail, and I work with a part that's Skalstugevägen. That's the final 50 k's actually of the Swedish part before you go into the Norwegian. And I thought, if I'm going to work with it, I need to actually explore the whole of it. So I thought, like in 5 days we can bike it. So then, we did a quick tour, and then we explored all of the trail. So I got a nice understanding how it works and how it's actually laid out in the terrain and so on. And if I'm going to work with that part, it's good to have a knowledge about it. And it was a good exercise as well.
And would you do it again, maybe slower, or how do you feel about that?
Since we had this kind of cross-country bike, some of the parts we actually took the signs for the road for the bike part, but we thought actually it could be nice to do the walking part more. It goes slower though, but it could be a nice thing to do. So that's maybe something we do, like take shorter parts of it and just see how it is to bike them, and especially in Norway where if you're now allowed, I don't know that, but that's something maybe I'll try out. And some of the parts are normally, like, not daily, but like every year I run anyway, because I live here. Yeah.
And my last question to you was, okay, what are you going to do this summer? Which part are you going to bike? And you were laughing and said, no biking.
No, I haven't planned any biking apart from the ones around here, but doing the whole trail again is not on the plan. It's other things on the for the vacation this year. So no long bike tours. But me and Peter, we discussed to take any other or some of the others pilgrims trails and see if they are good to bike. We know that some of them that's going Olavsleden, I think it's called, you're not allowed to bike a few parts of it, so we don't really know if that's a good, but maybe we can do a little bit on the southern part of that trail. Well, in the coming years.
Absolutely. You have many years to go biking, but thank you for now. And I understand that you cannot do long bike trails every year because you have your 7-year-old daughter over here who is your fan club today. Yeah. So you need to go and take care of her now.
It's time to go home.
Thank you so much, Simon.
Thank you.
And I will try to collect the hose, the cord. It's a little bit of mosquitoes in my ear, and I kind of dropped my paper. So just one moment and everything will be all right here. I think I will go and sit down, and Phär, get ready to join me. We have this beautiful little bench. It's called Pilgrims.Soffan, the pilgrim couch. And it's situated right outside of the Church of Åre. And Phär Karpas, you are a priest in the Church of Åre and some other churches as well, I guess. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Or maybe you should say welcome to us.
Everyone is invited here, and you know the church is very old, so we are all guests here.
Definitely. This church, we will go inside a little bit later, but it's a stone church, and from the medieval times, 12th century. Yes. What can you tell us about the church?
Well, the church that we see today is actually from the 1700s, and we will see when we come inside the church where the old church are and where the new starts, where the new church starts. But actually we could start here outside the church, because we have some very interesting thing here to show you. And it's a birch.
Come with you.
It's a birch tree.
Ah.
It's growing on the outside wall of the church. And it's very old, this tree. No one knows how old it is, but in the parish of Åre we are discussing if we should remove it or if we should just let it be there. And for the time being, I think we will let it be there. And there is a saying or a story that when the birch tree grows above the roof, then the end of time is here. So if you want to know when the end of time is here, you should look at the birch tree.
Okay, so I would calculate that in my lifetime I'm okay.
Yeah, I guess so too.
It's a nice story though. Yes. When of all of time, 11th or 12th century, this was not Sweden, this was Norway at that time. That's and right. Somehow you can notice in the church.
Yes, when we come inside the church, you will see that the pulpit where the priest used to stand and preach, it's located on the south side of the church. Normally in Sweden, the pulpit is on the northern side of the church. And we will see that when we enter the church.
Yeah. I don't know, but I would say that in this time, 1100, Åre is not a big place with a lot of people. What do we know about this place back in times?
Well, I have to admit that I haven't read the whole story about Åre, but Åre is a very small place today, and And if we go back to the 800 years ago, I think Åre was a very, very small place. But we have also to remember that Åre has been a place on the road between the Atlantic Ocean and the Baltic Sea. So it has been a road between the both seas for a long time. So when we come to St. Olav, it is it's not strange that he went through Åre when he, I think, when he both went to Russia and when he went back to Norway.
Yes. We call this the old church of Åre, yes. So I guess there is a new one as well.
Actually, yes, there is a new one, and that is the Church of Duved. And the Church of Duved is not as old as this one. We celebrated it. It is 125th anniversary just a few years ago. But we have a big wooden cathedral in Duved. This church in Åre can only take 120 people, but the big one in Duved can take 900 people.
Wow. Yeah. It's a big one. Yes. We will go now inside, so you can go before me, Phär, and I will just tell the viewers that it might be a problem with the internet, so we hope it's okay, but that's why we have stayed outside for such a long time. But we really want to see it.
Before we enter, I would like to say that here on a hook you can find a key to the outside door, and the church is open daily between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. So you're much welcome to come here. And if we have a service or a baptism, a funeral or wedding, we will have a sign on the door so you can see that.
Okay, great. Let's go inside. This is one of the smallest churches that I have been in before, which makes it very cozy. And very beautiful. So why don't we start by showing what you told us outside about the old one and the new one?
Yes, you can see that the church becomes a bit more narrow. You can see here, and that is the old part of the church, which is around 800 years or more. And the wider part, if the camera comes, you can show where it becomes a little bit wider, and that was an extension who was made in the 1700s. So that means that the church you see today was built in the 1700s. And most of the wooden parts here is also from the 1700s. But on the northern part, or northern side, you can see a statue.
Yes. This is a statue of Olav.
Yes, Saint Olav, the Norwegian saint. And he's a little bit special because on his head he should have had a crown, and on his and in his right hand he should have had an axe, because he was killed by an axe. And on his head, as I said, he should have a crown, but he lost both his crown and the axe. But instead of a crown, he has a crooked hat. And the Swedish soldiers during the 1700s had this kind of hat. And it's believed that a survived soldier returned to Åre and made this hat for St. Olav. And the statue itself are dated from the 1300s.
We have passed through a few churches with St. Olav in many of them, but not with this hat, as you said, with the crown and with the axe. So this is a very special one.
Yeah, that's right.
in many churches they have had Olav and they have had Mary,
Yes.
but you don't have Mary in this one?
No, I guess that we, during the first centuries of the church, had a statue or an image of Mary, but during the Reformation, they removed it. But we're happy that St. Olaf's are still here.
I think one more thing that is interesting with the church is, this is what you told me about, what was it called in English?
The pulpit.
The pulpit, that it's on the correct side, so it's the Norwegian one. Yeah. But then you told me about the paintings.
Well, actually, it's not. Well, according to Swedish tradition, it should be on the north side, but now here in Åre, it's on the south side. On the pulpit, we can see an image of the four evangelists, and they look like siblings, or they have the same face. And actually, it is a Swedish king. It's Charles XII.
And he's dressed in different ways, and one of them is the Sami costume.
Yeah, that's right. It's right here.
Yeah. And we are now in Sápmi, in the Sami region, and this church is also proud of being a part of that. So I know you have some other things here, which is in Sami.
Yes. We try to endorse and show that we are not only in Åre, the county of Jämtland, or in the commune of Åre, but also in Sápmi. And we are proud of that. And on the altar we have 3 Bibles, one Ukrainian Bible, one Swedish Bible, and one Sami Bible.
That's beautiful. And we were saying that today this is a nice thing that we talk about including people.
Yeah.
Back in times, maybe that was not the case.
No, I guess it shows power that the Swedish king wanted to show that he was not only the Swedish king, but also the kings of the Sami people.
Probably. This is a great little tour, and I think we will go back out again in case the internet is not too good. And I just have a few questions in the outside, because I know you also did the complete St. Olavsleden. Is that correct?
Well, that's not true.
Just one moment. Let's go outside first, so that we can hear what we're talking about.
It's not entirely true, to be honest. I have one part left, and that's between Östersund and Mörsil. But the other parts I have done, yes.
And when you did the pilgrimage, what did it mean to you? Why did you do it?
Well, when I do a pilgrimage, it's like a discussion or a dialogue between myself and God. It's not a monologue, it's a dialogue, because I believe that God answers me. Yeah.
And do you meet many pilgrims? Do they come to the church and you talk to them?
Yes, especially during the summer. So this is the pilgrim season, and so far I have met maybe 20, 30 pilgrims. And I hope, of course, that there would be more.
And when you meet them, is it like you feel that, oh, wow, I wish I could do this again? Or do you think that, oh, no, I've done it, now it's their turn?
Well, I can't say that I'm jealous of them, but I'm most happy for them, because I know that this trail, or actually every pilgrim trail is special, but I think the trail of St. Olav is even something extra. And
why is it something extra?
Well, because I think the nature here in Scandinavia, especially in Norway and Sweden, are very, very, very beautiful. And sometimes the weather can be against you, and the mosquitoes, of course. But if you can look above that, you will have an fantastic experience.
Now we have two of the pilgrims or two hikers over here, and I will go and talk to them in a minute. So I don't know if they hear you, but if you would give them an advice, because they will now tomorrow start from Tenforsen and walk over the mountains into Norway. How is that part to walk?
I guess that's the best part of the whole trail. As what was his name?
Simon.
Simon. As Simon said, that part is the best of the whole trail. And if there is one advice I can give you is to taste the water, because the water in the mountains are really spectacular. So try the water.
Okay, so Jessica and Dan, who we're going to talk to, are nodding, so they will taste the water. Okay. Thank you so much, Phär, for letting us see the church and for your guiding.
Okay, thank you so much.
So I will once again see if I can sit down at the bench, and please join me, Jessica and Dan, who are doing the St. Olaf Trail. You are from the United States, and you are now visiting Scandinavia for the first time. How is it so far?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
We've only been here for a couple of days. We'll talk about that, I know, but just absolutely gorgeous landscapes.
Yeah, beautiful. So green, tons of water. Yeah, it's really beautiful.
And why are you doing this trail that you're doing at the moment?
We're doing it because we actually love to be outside in nature, and it's a great way to see a country you've never been, to sort of walk through it and meet the people, night to night. Sometimes we're in homestays. So it's just a great way for us to kind of disconnect from technology, but also see nature and meet people.
And you started only 3 days ago, so you're not doing the whole trail. Tell us where you start and where you're going.
We started in Marskil and we'll end in Trondheim. And we didn't have the time to take the whole trail, to walk the whole trail. And so we've done sections of other trails in other countries. And so we're just happy to be able to have this experience and be out in nature, as Dan said, and have so many resources so that you can do just a portion of it and meet other pilgrims as well as other walkers.
So I know that tonight you're staying in Tenforsen. You actually passed Åre already. Did you go into the church?
We just did today. In fact, we didn't when we were here passing through, but we did today, and it was gorgeous, really beautiful.
And I know that in Tenforsen, where you're staying, you were talking to some other pilgrims that did the whole trail. And what did you learn from them?
We learned that, I think, depending on the section, there's more or less asphalt to walk, that there's more hills. And I think just, that they actually, I think, felt like it was getting more and more beautiful the longer they walked in many ways.
And many people that we've seen only in the last 3 days, but have said that they've had just really great experiences in the places they've stayed. And I think Dan mentioned this, but one of the reasons that we hike trails is to be outside, and I know Simon mentioned this as well, but to be in places that you might not be able to get to in cars. So I think that's one of the things Dan mentioned a little bit about kind of being on paths and also being on asphalt. And so we really do love the opportunity to be in the areas in which you couldn't get to if you weren't by foot. Right.
I know that you are hiking a lot and have done it a lot before, and that you used to stay in tent, but this is the second time you don't, right?
Yes, that's true. I think as we get older, it's kind of nice to have a bed at the end of each day. But we walked the Camino in Spain last year. That was the first time, and so we really enjoyed it, and so we were looking for another, adventure in a similar vein, and so we found this one. That's how we ended up here.
Actually, when we give suggestions to people hiking the St. Olaf Trail, we usually say try to carry as little as you can, because the experience will be better. Can you agree on that?
Absolutely. And I would say as light as you possibly can. I know you can have your bags carried, but we're carrying all of our own equipment and everything. And of course, we have less than if we were camping, right? Because we're not camping out and we don't have our tent. We have done that many times. Yeah. But yes, as light as you can go and really thinking about what you need. It's good for a lot of reasons.
How do you plan your food during the day, and then how do you do at night?
This time we have our food all included we are traveling with Nordic Pilgrim and have been really happy with the opportunity of just having someone plan. At the very first time we've actually ever had anyone plan our trip. We've always planned our own trips. And as Dan, I think, mentioned, we've also packed our own food, dehydrated our own food, sent in our own food. So this feels very luxurious to us. So this year, I mean, we didn't really need to do much to plan our food. I do think in some places where we have breakfast, we might pack a little bit to take for a lunch. Also, in this section of the trail, we have one place where we're staying where we will not be given dinner. And so we needed to pack and think about what we'll bring with us and just hit one of the grocery stores before there aren't any for a bit.
I know this is one place where you need a lot of food, but you haven't included, so that's good. How far do you walk per day usually?
We've been walking between like 12 miles and 15 miles, so like 20 kilometers to like 24 kilometers, something in there. Yeah, and there's some sections that are a little bit longer than that, but a lot of them are about that.
I think this is really ideal. Like for me personally, the first year that we did a long distance hike, we averaged 17 miles a day and had 30 days over 20 miles a day. And I realized that was really hard on my body. And also, so I've been really excited about having this mileage, because I feel like it feels doable. And also can still walk at the end of the day a little more if I needed to.
That's a good point. The pilgrimage is not supposed to be like the most fittest and hardest thing. It's also time to think and be on your own, things like that.
Yeah, I agree. Totally. And I think, sometimes people ask us, what do you do to prepare? I mean, we walk a lot in our everyday life. We also strengthen, just to be prepared for kind of any hills that we might have. It's not as maybe I think we're going to be, but we've hiked in some pretty hilly areas. Yeah. But also, yeah, I agree. Just the opportunity to, just have really a lot of peace and quiet during the day is so nice, for just to take a break and really be reflective.
You mentioned that you walked the Camino in Spain last year. What would you say is the difference so far?
I would say, that is interesting. Well, on there you're on the coast. There's a lot of water here, but it's different. I mean, I don't know. It feels different. Just the countryside. We saw a lot more goats, I think, there than here. Maybe there's more to come. I don't know. But I also think there's bigger towns and even some cities on that route. And so I think this feels like smaller villages and towns than that, which we actually kind of like, I think. Yeah, what other differences?
Yeah, I think that's mostly it. And I do think a lot more water here. I mean, we did the northern route of El Camino. Mm-hmm. But I've been really just impressed by how much water there is here and just how green it is. And also, I think we've hiked for 3 days, but we've had rain every day, which we've also hiked the Pacific Crest Trail, and there were
no rain.
Yeah, there was very, very little rain. But I also think, look, if you're going to have it be this green, then there's going to be some rain. So, and the rain has been totally manageable. We've had the right gear and we've dried out every single day. So I think that's really important to know that it's part of being here and knowing why it's so green, and also just having the right equipment too.
Exactly. And I think we mentioned it before in this program is one day you can wear shorts and the other day you need a winter jacket. Yeah. And one day it's sunny and one day it's rainy. So you never know what you get. The 2 first weeks when we were broadcasting, we had 25 degrees and sunshine and we were all like, oh, look at the weather. So
Yeah. Yeah,
You
to be
might be
prepared for
prepared.
everything,
Yeah.
right?
Prepare with layers.
Yes.
so you're not sleeping in tent tonight in Tenforsen. Describe the accommodation. How is it?
Oh, it's lovely, actually. It's kind of a small cabin. There's 2 rooms with bunks and then a shared kitchen and bathroom. And then a cabin. We actually ate dinner with a fire next to us. It was delicious. But yeah, it's a sort of cabin right by the largest waterfall in Sweden, which we haven't seen yet.
We're going to either see it at 1 a.m. tonight because we're still getting used to the fact that there is so much light all the time. But we'll definitely see it before we leave.
Do you know what? I have a picture of it. I'm not going to show it to you, but I will show it to the camera.
Okay, great.
Because it's important that you have seen. This is one of the greatest waterfalls in this area, not in the country. But it's a place where people go just to see the waterfall, actually. So you have to go and see it. But you can do it in the middle of the night. That could be a nice experience.
I don't know that we really will, but I just have, this is all new to me of having so much light. So
Yeah. Can you sleep, or is it difficult?
It has been a little difficult for me. There have been some rooms that have kind of blackout shades that make it easier for me. We also have but we were up at 1 a.m., which is kind of late for me, and took a picture and were like, just because we needed to experience this, really, is this all the same from like almost 11:30 to 3 a.m.? So yeah, that's been really interesting to see.
Now you haven't walked so many days yet, because one of my questions would be, do you have a special place that you passed by, or did you meet a certain person that you really enjoyed? But maybe you have one of those experiences. Anything that come into your mind?
We did walk by a beautiful waterfall already, Ristafallet,
Yes.
I think. And so that was gorgeous, and I just love being around water. So I think I really enjoyed that, and it was gorgeous as we walked by that.
I'm a farm girl. I grew up on a farm, and I love the agricultural aspects of anywhere we go. And so just being able to see cows and chickens and walk right through that might be very simple for other people, but makes me feel really at home. So I've already enjoyed that.
Great. Will you stay in Vakko? You know that?
Yes, we will.
You will have a farm girl experience
Oh,
there.
terrific. I can't wait.
And when you come to Trondheim, you will have the water with the fjord, so that will be beautiful for
Looking
you.
forward to that. Yeah.
Well, as Per said, that now you will cross the mountains, and in his experience, is one of the best parts. What are you expecting now?
More elevation change, I think. But I think also just being more remote, like even more so in the forest, and yeah, so it'll be more challenging, but maybe more rewarding.
From Åre to Tenforsen, did you experience asphalt a lot of them walking?
We did.
Yeah.
We did. And that's been new for us to be, when we hiked the Pacific Crest Trail, we always said, okay, some road walking, we've got a section of road walking. And so I think that has been something that's been new for us. And I hope maybe in the future, it seems like, and again, we don't know that much about this trail, but it seems like there's probably been sections in which there's been made an effort to move it off the asphalt. And so hopefully in the future, that's something that we'll see with this trail, is just, I think, because that puts you in a place that's something different than what you would see when you're in a car. But yes, there has been. To answer your
And
question.
I was asking because this is actually the part of the trail where it's most asphalt.
Yeah,
So
right.
you will come through it, and then
Right,
it will be
exactly.
better. Yeah. And also we are working on trying to get it off the road, which would be nice. So when you come back now tonight, I guess you should have a cup of tea maybe, or a coffee. And with that, we need to send with you the cinnamon roll, which is what we eat for fika. Have you heard the word fika?
No. We wish we knew Swedish. We're learning words here and there, but this will be one we remember.
Yes, because fika is, it's nothing special. It's just coffee and a bun or coffee and cookies. But we do it like in the morning or in the afternoon. So it's fika time. So would you like a fika? Yes, you say.
Yes.
And then you get coffee or tea, whatever you like. And then you have something to eat with it. So this is the cinnamon roll. So it's like a bakery with cinnamon and sugar inside it. So it's a sweet thing. So we will send it with you. And then I know that you have some Belgium pilgrims.
Yes, that's correct. We will share them.
Yes,
we will share
you
them for
should,
sure.
because they will get dry if you save them too long.
Definitely. We'll share them with anyone we see where we're staying. We promise.
Good. So we will send the kanelbullar with Jessica and Dan when they are continuing their hike. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and just we're so happy to be here and all the hospitality, and we've loved it so far. And we know only 3 days in, but we've got several more and to come back too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How many days? When will you reach Trondheim?
June 30th?
I think it is the 30th.
Yeah. Something like
Oh,
that.
2 weeks from now.
Yeah. Yeah. Not too many days. We'll be there before we know it.
That's right. We'll come back though.
Oh,
Finish
yes.
the rest.
Oh, yes. That sounds good. Actually, I need to talk a little bit more, because when you are in the United States, you live in a big city, or how is it? Because you like hiking.
We live in a smaller town, but it's the most. We live in New Jersey, which is the most densely populated state in the country. But there are a lot of parks, a lot of hiking trails that aren't too far. The beach is 40 minutes away. So there's a lot of different things to do outside. But our town is pretty small, kind of a walking town. And so, yeah.
And I know that you were coming here, you were going to visit Stockholm for a few days and going back visit Oslo for a few days, and you were going to start in another place than you did because something happened at the airport.
Yes, something did happen. We travel a lot internationally, but my passport was going to expire 1 week after we were to return. So we are returning on July 2nd back to the United States, and my passport expired July 7th. But we learned that there are many countries, Sweden and Norway included, in which you need to have at least 90 days, and in some cases 6 months of validity on your passport. So I would just say, check it out. Renew your passport 6 months before, just to be on the safe side. Hard lesson learned.
Yeah, you missed a few days in the beginning.
Did, but we're so glad we're here. It could have been worse. We could have not been here at all. So,
and one last thing, what would you send to someone who has not pilgrimaged this part of the world? You are hiking a lot, and now you have had a few days. Anything special that you would say to others?
I would say just start walking. Try it and start walking. There are lots of different ways to kind of walk these routes. Sometimes on the Camino we take a bus and then walk. So one of these days coming up, you can send your packs first, right, and just walk. And so there's lots of different ways to walk depending on your comfort level with camping. Maybe you don't want to camp. Maybe carrying a pack hurts your back. You can send them. And so there's lots of different ways to just start. But it's you can't really experience this unless you just start walking and give it a try. And yeah.
I think this is a really great. We started the other way, which was, tenting, long distance, 1,100 miles the first time. But I think this is a really wonderful way to do a section, to really just experience what it means to see a place by walking and carrying some small things. And so I would just encourage, we're so glad we're here. We had a couple of different options of where we could be this summer. We're so glad we chose here. And we would just encourage others to start small, start with a section and then go from there. And as Dan said, start walking. You can, if you're if you can walk a few miles, you can start walking yourself into shape, essentially.
Well, I think that would have to be our final comment. Just start walking. And I also think that this evening has been a little bit about that. You can do it your own way. You can bike it in 5 days. You can do like Phär, who has done the whole trail apart from a few days, which he missed, from Östersund to Mörsil. And you can do like Jessica and Dan, who starts in Mörsil.
Yes.
Yes, and continue to Trondheim and do it with with Nordic Pilgrim, who is booking for them, which is a great way of doing it as well. This is all from Åre today. Next time, next Tuesday, we will be in Stiklestad, and I really, really hope that you will join us then, because Stiklestad is actually the most interesting place from the whole St. Olavsleden if you are enjoying the history, because that's the place where the Olav died, and that's the place where he, after a while, became a saint. And we will learn more about why when we see you there. Goodbye!